Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Love Your Block volunteer webinar. The Love Your Block team would like to thank you for your time and service as we revitalize our community one block at a time. My name is Tabora Marcus, and I'm the Albany's Love Your Block Fellow.
And my name is Erin Johans, and I'm the Love Your Block AmeriCorps Vista.
I'm Sam Wells, the City of Albany's Neighborhood Stabilization Coordinator and Love Your Block City Lead. Also part of our team is Jasmine Higgins, a Policy Analyst in the Mayor's Office.
Again, everyone, welcome. We acknowledge that by choosing to volunteer with the City of Albany's Love Your Block program, that you recognize the importance of giving back to the community and helping to make it a better place to live for residents. Areas the Love Your Block will be serving will be Arbor Hill, West End, North Albany, Sheridan Hollow, and the South End. We ask that while volunteering, you be mindful and open-minded and contingent of presence in the community while offering time and energy. We appreciate your dedication and your service.
The general mission and goals of the Love Your Block program are to remediate blight, beautify public spaces, create stronger connections between neighbors, build trust between the local government and residents, spur positive community-driven change through small acts of service, and to partner with city services, community groups, and other local nonprofits to provide resources and address our community's needs. Some general program overview for those who are unfamiliar with our program. This is a grant through Cities of Service and Johns Hopkins University. It was started back in 2009 and since then has been implemented in nearly 50 cities around the nation. Some past initiatives of Love Your Block include flower plantings, tree plantings, installing park benches, and additional street lighting and community cleanups. We will have this grant for both 2022 and 2023. And this year we have awarded many grants that are between $500 and $1,500 to residents, community groups, and other local small nonprofits. Now, while volunteering, we believe that it's very important to be conscientious of the material environment of these neighborhoods, while also being mindful and aware of the larger history and context when offering your time. For generations, many lifelong residents, immigrants, and refugees from across the world have called this place home, each bringing with them their own unique perspective and positive contributions to the city as a whole. Arbor Hill, West Hill, North Albany, and the South End neighborhood and residents have been and continue to be harmed by structural and institutional racism. One example being redlining. Redlining is defined by the Oxford Dictionary as the process by which loans, primarily housing, were refused to someone because the area they were investing in was deemed too much of a financial risk. Not coincidentally, the areas that were redlined often had the highest minority populations. As a result of structural and institutional racism, many of Albany's low-income and majority minority residents have high instances of blight, homelessness, and housing insecurity. The repercussions of redlining affect more than just the housing market, however, leading to overall less allocation of material resources, social services, because investors weren't willing to put money into these communities. The physical symptoms of redlining are expressed as abandoned buildings, vacant lots, littering, and disintegrating infrastructure. However, the effects of blight go far deeper than the outer appearance of a neighborhood. The systematic lack of resources leads to greater harm and violence to people, causing increased drug use and substance abuse, food apartheid, greater health disparities and chronic diseases, and a lack of economic opportunities. Today, many cities like Albany are working to combat the effects of redlining by creating more community-based projects, lending more interest loans to prospective homeowners, revising zoning policies, and investing more in previously redlined neighborhoods like with Love Your Block.
In 2018, the City of Albany Common Council passed the Equity Agenda, which made policy recommendations to ensure equitable growth in education, economic development, health, housing, jobs, and many other areas. It asked the city to specifically allocate resources to communities with the highest rates of poverty, vacant buildings, and minority-majority residents, and it tasked the Human Rights Commission to implement an annual dialogue about race. The Love Your Block team seeks to build upon the goals and mission of the equity agenda by focusing our efforts on neighborhoods that meet their criteria for equitable distribution of resources. As a volunteer with the Love Your Block program, you will have the chance to participate in activities from July to the end of September. These activities can include block cleanups, spreading information on city grants and other resources door to door, cleaning up vacant lots, gardening and landscaping, performing repairs to front facades, and event setup and breakdown. There are multiple roles you can play as a volunteer at the Love Your Block team. But first, the Love Your Block team members are Aaron, Tabora, and myself. We are the main organizers of the work party and will offer assistance throughout the day. We will provide materials, act as the liaison between city services and residents, as well as participate in many of the activities going on. We are looking for volunteer point persons who will act as the point of contact between the Love Your Block team and act as our second in command by providing general introductions and instructions to other volunteers to assist with things such as transportation to and from work parties, participate in activities, and relay larger issues the volunteer group may be having to Love Your Block team members. We are also looking for the volunteer point person to collect feedback and report back to the Love Your Block program and maintain contact throughout the season to report on ongoing availability for projects for yourself and other volunteers. Most folks will just be a community volunteer, and those are folks who are on the ground completing the activities that day. Your work will be on selected blocks in target neighborhoods side by side with other volunteers without conflict. We ask that you report any outstanding issues to volunteer point persons and or Love Your Block team members, and to use your tools and equipment provided safely and responsibly. We are also looking for youth activity leaders, which are members of our community, trusted neighbors, or volunteers, employees of a partnering organization to provide educational, artistic, and other less intensive activities for any participating minors. The ideal age range we'll be doing these activities with will be 5 to 14 during and in between structured activities. And then finally, we're looking for volunteers to be trained needle exchange handlers. You must be willing and able to safely dispose of used needles that could potentially be found amongst debris, garbage, and overgrowth during neighborhood cleanups. This person must report back to the Love Your Block team members at the end of the volunteer day to hand off any found needles and needle exchange boxes for the Love Your Block team to return to the Department of Health. All volunteer roles and responsibilities will be assigned to volunteers after the completion of the webinar. You can expect to receive an email a minimum of 3 days prior to the work party, letting you know if you receive your requested role. If you disagree with the role you've been assigned, you may contact one of your Love Your Block team members and we can discuss it.
Some policies and procedures for our project. We ask that all participants wear a name tag to identify themselves to the Love Your Block staff and other community members in which we serve. Volunteers have the right to be free from unlawful discrimination. The Love Your Block team has the responsibility to ensure that all actions do not contribute in any way to discrimination in the community. Our program is committed to ensuring that all individuals have an equal opportunity to enjoy a fair, safe, and productive work environment. All volunteers are expected to arrive on time for their sign-up volunteer hours and stay until the end of work party shift unless there are outstanding circumstances. The Love Your Block team will provide additional training at the start of the work party day. While volunteering, there's possibilities for potential hazardous materials like broken glass, needles, and other rusted sharp metal. The Love Your Block program will not take responsibility for any mishandling of foreign objects after receiving designated training. All incidents should be reported to one of our Love Your Block staff members and an incident form will be completed. New York prohibits smoking in places of employment where services are offered to children. The Love Your Block team will identify a designated spot around events for those who wish to smoke. We ask that all volunteers be mindful that these events are kid-friendly and to respect the presence of our youth. Volunteers, please adhere to the following around harassment. Harassment is defined as unwanted verbal, physical, or visual behavior used to pressure or intimidate a person. Harassment can be centered around, but is not limited to, judgment made against a person's race, religion, gender, national origin, age, ability, and/or sexuality. Examples of this would be offensive jokes, slurs, or name calling, physical assaults or threats, intimidation tactics, ridicule or mockery, insults or put downs, offensive objects or pictures, and interference with work performance. The harasser can be the victim's supervisor, a supervisor in another area, an agent of an employer, a coworker, or a non-employee. The victim does not have to be a person harassed, but can be anyone affected by the offensive conduct. So, unlawful harassment may occur without economic injuries to or discharge of the victim.
And some final thoughts before we end today's webinar. A Love Your Block staff member will supervise all work party events and provide any necessary feedback to volunteers the day of the event to ensure that activities are done in an appropriate and timely manner. If an emergency situation occurs that prevents you from volunteering, the Love Your Block staff ask that you report immediately to either a Love Your Block team member or volunteer lead via phone or email. And when signing in at the work party, we do ask that all volunteers fill out an optional Love Your Block event attendee survey. Please reach out to us if there are any questions or concerns before or after the work party, and we look forward to having you volunteer with us this summer season. Thank you for enjoying this webinar.